Hello, everyone. This is as close to a comment as you're getting from me. I had no intention of having any comment, but that was right before the video ends, and my eyes saw it. I couldn't quite fight that one off. So there you go. Okay, how is everyone? It's Thursday. You know what that means? AEW Dynamite review. That's not really true at all. We haven't reviewed Dynamite on a Thursday since the late 90s. Back when uh, Oracle Night. No, this was, I don't know when I used to do these. When the Burt existed, I guess, right? The Burt. Remember the Burt? So I hope everyone is well. It has obviously been a wild week in wrestling generally, but especially in the land of All Elite Wrestling, the famed All Elite Fleet. Um, it's been quite the time. This show was a big test for them. There was a lot to talk about. It was certainly, a telling show, I think, in terms of the plan coming out of this chaos and so on and so forth. So here's how we're going to do this: very loose, not going to be like a tight review show in which I go segment by segment. It's going to be more Q&A heavy, more conversation heavy. You know the deal. You know it works, right? So if you have any questions about Dynamite, get to them. Please put them in there. I'll star them and get to them when I can. We will talk kind of generally segment for segment about what was, again, an eventful show, an interesting show. Not necessarily what I think people expected, but when you kind of took a step back and thought about exactly what you should have expected, because it was not the time to be rolling the dice and taking some sort of grand stand against either party. I think they clearly wanted to avoid that and kind of just, stay, just let that play out. We'll deal with that there. Let's try and put a good wrestling show on. And I think that was the right idea. And I think it will show over time. That was definitely the right call. All right, let's look at the chat here. I'm going to try to skip some of these for obvious reasons. Try my best here. Trying my best. I've now been scrolling for like 5 different comments. Still trying. Is the fleet fucked? Find out tonight. On Impact? My God. Tope says I made him pause at the half in the bag from 2 years ago, a movie he hasn't seen. It's actually a better experience, honestly, than watching ones about movies you have seen, because if it's a movie you have seen, you like it, and they don't, you get mad about it. The same way you guys get mad at me when I don't like I don't know what match it would even be. Because I was going to say an elite match, but I actually like most elite matches. Anyway, you get my point. This is a wrestling program. Yes, this is not. Again, I'm going to stop. Okay, we have some business to handle. Let's get to it. The great Hangman's Horse, the best name in our community, says God save the Grin. He's resubscribed. Thank you very much, Hangman's Horse. My pal Chock, who I always cower to read the name of, has gifted a sub to Bobby Two Shoes. Bob, please thank Chock. And Fuse Nova has resubscribed Prime. They've been subscribed for 3 whole months. My God, choices made. Also, Hangman's Horse has been resubscribed for 4 months. So you guys are both nuts. A hype train has started. We're at 94% on level 1 of the hype train. We have over 50 people in here. I forget how you get the hype train moving, but if you move it, it goes to level 2, and then you can go to level 3. That's the way numbers work. All right. I agree, Demon Grin. Half in the bag does rule. That's where we steal away good bits. Okay, we're talking about Bryan Danielson. We'll get there in a second. Pop. Some John Moxley. Some Dragon. There's a lot of this. This is the kind of debate of the day, the conversation of the day. It feels like one of those two gentlemen will decide the next owner of the AEW World Title, which we'll get into in more detail in a minute. I just want to catch up on the chat best I can. Me too. I absolutely agree with this from Paul, who says AEW being able to put on great shows under difficult circumstances is definitely one of their strengths. Look, I think it goes without saying it's been a turbulent time, but the hilarity of that is if you did like an average score of Dynamite in the last 6 months, 2 months, 3 months, it's like probably like an 8, which kind of gives you a clue as to what you're referencing there. Don't let Phil Punk and the Elite's crimes distract us from what is really important. Samoa Joe is back and bladed on a run-in. He's in a promo tomorrow night, guys. I hope he gets to talk more on the television show. That was one thing we missed with him wrestling every week. As much as I enjoyed it, the real power of Joe at this point in his career is him as a promo. Dude's a killer promo. Okay. Again, there are some comments I'll leave off the screen. All right. Let's talk about it. So, last night was a really challenging show in terms of, what they had to achieve. And they were kind of in a jam, I thought, because while in some ways MJF was the perfect person to handle this, because they couldn't actually talk about it, he was kind of in a tough spot, because the real ideal version of this promo is Max doing the full "I told you so," he's a piece of shit. We have reached level 2. Our pal Chalk has gifted a sub to that piece of shit Demon Grin. I'm just kidding. The Demon Grin, please thank our guy Chalk. Thank you very much, Chalk. You're all. We're in level 2 now. That's it. That's enough, guys. Thank you. So what was he talking about? Oh yeah, the opening segment. So Max, I think, was a challenging spot for him to be in, because he couldn't go the obvious direction and create do a really controversial shooty style promo about all that's happened and where he's been and so on and so forth. And I think it kind of left him in a spot where on very short notice, on very late notice, he had to kind of adjust and come up with something that was worth, the opening segment and worth his big return, but wasn't quite, in my view anyway, as immediately memorable as I think he probably would have had planned if Punk was still on the TV show, or again, if he could talk about what happened on Sunday night. Because clearly, obviously, he's supposed to go in a program with Punk, so that makes his promo very different, because he couldn't even mention the man here. Best we got was the go to sleep business. But he's still, look, MJF's obviously a very good promo. I think anyone that watches the shows know that I don't quite, I see there is a perception that he's like the best promo in wrestling, and I don't think he's the best promo in the segment, but he's a good promo. He's a very confident promo, most important. His crowd control is incredible. And that was really the story of this. He had fun with the babyface thing. I didn't think it was ever... I was amazed that there was seemingly some he's actually going to be a babyface, which stunned me. I think he was specifically having some fun at Punk's expense with the way he, handled himself and some of the things he did. But, it was very effective. And again, while I don't see him quite as high as some do, I would never say he's not a good promo. He's a good promo, and it was a good promo. I wish we could have seen what he had planned, because I think it would have been something slightly more daring, slightly more kind of different than what we got here. But that is what it is. It's out of his hands. It was a tough night, for all involved in that regard. Okay. Now, this is where you get to the real meat of the segment in my mind, when Moxley came out. And, I don't want to project or overthink what could easily just be a guy portraying his character. The Williams beat a subscriber Prime. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate you. I don't want to overstate this, because this is just one person's read on it. But I have to say, I thought it was very apparent. Maybe it was just a great promo, but I thought there was a lot of true emotion and true feeling and true kind of frustration on the part of Jon Moxley. It appeared to me that he was really wearing the last few days as a guy who I think went to AEW to experience a wrestling, to experience a wrestling promotion that was devoid of the shit that had exhausted him and drove him nuts elsewhere. And him trying to put the pieces back together of what the promotion was supposed to be, or what he viewed it as. He really was wearing it, I thought. And I thought that made it, an infinitely better piece of television, even though I would like to stress, I sincerely hope he's okay and isn't too desperate to get his vacation that he's very much owed. Because, everyone here is rooting for Mox and loves Mox. But it did feel to me like he was wearing it, and it made for an incredible promo. It's the kind of promo that, honestly, you would splice up and play over video packages forever because it's about a philosophy and an ideology that is bigger than one person, which is what all of these brands want to create. And that's something that AEW at just 3 years old is trying to do and has come close a few times. And it's always a variety show, so it's hard. But Moxley's always been smart to make the variety show part of AEW's brand and part of its identity. Moxley's approach is more about it's the passion. It's about the love of wrestling. We can all come in here and play our different music, but we're here for the same thing. We want to make wrestling better. And he's always been about that. And he's about that when he goes elsewhere. My God, we've completed. We completed the hype train at level 2. Your community contributed a total of 5 gift subs and 100 bits. I saw Fred cheered 100 bits. Thank you very much, Fred. So yeah, I thought it was an absolutely fabulous promo. Honestly, I would say it's the best of Mox's career, but I'm slightly hesitant because I think I said that last week, and I feel like I'm saying every fucking week right now. So I don't know, but I just thought it was very striking to me how much it felt sincere and authentic. I don't think you can overstate at this point. And I've tried certainly because I try and say it on every show unless I'm doing some certain bits to pop people. Hold up, what's wrong? Oh, when you said problems, I was like, my stream had broke. My bad, Fred. Like we talk about it a lot, and I know it's probably like I've run out of creative ways to say it, but legitimately, it can't be overstated how great this guy is right now. Like he's just on a different level. His promos are so unique in that they're colorful and like engaging and feel like they're outwardly charismatic. Wait a minute, my internet's been weird. Oh no. Don't do this to me now, folks, please. Hold fire, folks. Let me try and fix this. Okay, hold on. We back? Do we look okay? Does everyone look okay? It says it's working fine. Chat, tell me where I'm at here. And almost this on YouTube must be an incredible experience. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it. If it goes wrong again, tell me because StreamYard can be very inconsistent with recognizing it. Anyway, so as I was saying about Mox, his promos are like cinematic and colorful and like outwardly charismatic in the way that like the great wrestlers of yesteryear were. But there's this human element that was seldom there with those great wrestlers because he isn't playing like a cartoon character. Now, to be fair, not everyone did. A lot of his heroes certainly didn't. But it's really interesting dynamic he has where it's like he's real, but in a very specific way. Because if I did promos the way John Moxley does, it certainly wouldn't come across as real. If anyone else did promos the way John Moxley does, it certainly wouldn't come across as real. It would come across like someone, playing a character. But that's his wrestling. That's his wrestling identity. And I think if you watch his interviews, it's there. But he's certainly playing a character on TV. He's just tapped into it to such a degree that it's like, it just feels like a normal person, even though a lot of his actions are very much not that of an ordinary, which is kind of the perfect wrestler. He's incredibly human and relatable in some ways, but he also is, he's like this awesome kind of fucking movie, action movie star. So it's really, really cool. Let me put the overlay back on before shoot kicks the shit out of me. There we go. There you go. Look, just as I said it. 80s action hero, but somehow relatable. He's very interesting. And he's great. But, and we'll get into this more later when we talk about the match. He's the guy. He's the guy you build around. He's the guy that you have fly the flag. He's the guy you have just he should be all over their product. He's the guy. But these are particular circumstances, and it is not a discredit to Mox. It is not a knock. It's not his fault. I can't help but feel like going straight back to him would be kind of redundant and only shine a light on the fact that he just lost to Punk. Now, that wouldn't be a problem. Sheik just texted me, but I beat him to it, that piece of shit. Get fucked, Matty Bullets. All right. Now, that wouldn't be a problem if there wasn't a better solution. If this was the best option you had, it's still a good option. It's fucking John Moxley. But it just so happens that in the field, AEW has the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, has been wasted. He has been underutilized. He should go back to the World Wrestling Federation. I'm not here to do any of that stuff. What I am here to tell you is there was a little run there from September through to January where he wrestled every week and had like a 4-star match. And it couldn't last forever, right? And they've focused elsewhere, and he's kind of been what he likes being, which is this like selfless, in-ring, reliable, so on and so forth, which is great. But I think it's time to give him the ball the way you gave it to him last September, just with a gold belt around his waist. Bryan Danielson is not just a good worker who's going to give you good in-ring. This is a guy who transformed a promotion with his overness. He's a guy who, frankly, transformed the industry with his popularity. He's a megastar. And I think what happened was, I think Benno tweeted this, and I agree with him totally. Because that's what Punk's thing as a wrestler, he's like an old school wrestling star, right? Warts and all, clearly. So he did that role, and Bryan filled he was the worker, right? Like, they were the two top guys that came in and they played different positions. I think we focus so much on Punk as being the star who comes out and cuts the big promos and does that we kind of took for granted how big a star Bryan Danielson is. And I think it's high time that we, course correct on that and focus on Bryan in this time of turbulence. Because here's the other thing about Bryan, this is important. And Moxley has this too, but again, this is fresh with Bryan. If you love CM Punk, you probably love Bryan Danielson. And if you love the Elite, good chance you love Bryan Danielson. He's like the middleman there, and I was frustrated by him losing Jericho because I just don't think, to me it was it shouldn't be happening in 2022. That's just my honest take on it. I get why they're doing it within the story, but in a big picture, I wouldn't do it. But Bryan can always wrestle his way out there. And I actually think you heard with the audience last night, there's a lot that's been made of Hangman's reaction. I don't think it was so much a slight of Hangman. I think that the audience is ready for Bryan to be the top guy again, or one of the top, 2-3 guys again. So I think it's his time. He is obviously, you guys know what I think of Bryan Danielson. It's pointless going in circles, but as a fan, I think the world of Moxley. So I don't want to do a thing where it's if Moxley wins, it's a mistake, so on and so forth. However, it has to be said that freshness, excitement, I think Bryan's the play there. But that's just me. I will say this. This is an interesting piece of this. It feels very likely that whoever wins this tournament, Max has got next. And I saw that Dave talked about this a little bit. And I honestly don't know. Give me your take on this, guys, because I genuinely, it's subjective, right? I really don't think it's the time to do an angle where you have the top heel as your world champion while cutting promos about wanting to leave the promotion. Genuinely. And maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm way off. If ever there was a time to simplify things and just give people great action, it feels like now. And the idea of having a top heel threaten to leave the promotion as world champ, while there will absolutely be people leaving the promotion and going to the other place because that's how it works, man, I don't know. Like, I don't think that's the kind of tone I'll be shooting for. I just think I don't know if the answer here is like immediately going to MJF. You know, I really don't. Like, I just don't see him. Look, this is not a slight. This is just my read on it. Okay, MJF is great. There is no one at 25, 26, wherever Max is now, who I'm prioritizing over this version of John Moxley and this version of Bryan Danielson at that age. I'm sorry. He can live to fight another day. He'll be fine. He can win it next year. He can win it whenever. But if ever there was a time, like, to just give the ball to John Moxley or Bryan Danielson and let them be for 6 months and build some stability, build something to hang your hat on, man, it feels like that time right now. You know, and I know that people watching this saying, God, hold say again with the MJF stuff. But like, I'm genuine. I'm not even trying to make, like, I just feel like it's like this is not the time to do that angle. I mean, I wouldn't do that angle in general because I think it's playing with fire. Not because Max is going to leave, but because of the perception element of it. I don't know. I don't know where you guys stand on this. Let me have a little look at the chat. It feels like the wrong time to go over heel heavy. And the other thing is too, Max is a heel champ. He's the kind of heel that you're going to go, like, he's going to have the belt for a while and he's going to be playing like chicken shit heel. And that's great, but it doesn't feel like the time for that right now. This isn't talking about, Full Gear season, to be clear. Like, if he wins it, in Revolution, that's one thing, but it's just different to me. Right, what we got here? Is Danielson MJF as big a deal as Mox MJF? No, and I also think it's a weirder kind of, dynamic. But it's a fresher matchup, so maybe it could be. If Danielson wins this tournament and really heats up, it could easily be, the answer could be yes to that. So it's one of those deals we'll let it play out. All right. Darby and Sammy will be interesting because, like, I could see them wanting a heel there. So until Darby gets through that, I'm kind of hesitant. There you go. Stability. I agree, man. I really do. That's the thing, right? If Max is re-signed, which I believe he has, like, he doesn't need to win this belt in 2 months. Like, he just doesn't to me, but whatever. Yeah, I mean Full Gear, to be clear, guys. MJF is going to hold on that chip for a while, in my opinion. That would be an interesting thing, too. Do you think there's a possibility it could be Jericho because Tony trusts him? If the bracket looked different, I would say yeah. I mean, there's always a possibility. But the fact that he's wrestling Danielson again, I think, Jericho even knows he shouldn't be beating Danielson twice. So I don't think so, really. If Danielson's getting the belt, the more compelling story to me is a fracture in BCC and him and Mox feuding with their respective young lions than the MJF stuff. That's the other really interesting dynamic. I will be hesitant, to be totally honest with you, because it feels like there's still juice in really exploring them as a super faction, a super team, a super fight club, whatever. But I have to be honest, I don't think you're wrong to be like, do we need all these top guys to be in one group when we could actually make 2 groups and have that be our top program? Especially because wherever Mox goes, you can always slot King in there, and Garcia is now kind of attached. So you've got a lot of players there, and it could be something to explore for sure. MJF should just hold on to the chip for a year because Mox and Bryan are too good at wrestling. Well, there you go. I hope Danielson wins, holds until New Year's Smash or whatever, then MJF finally cashes in the chip and beats him. I think that's a much better. Timeline because that gives you like 3 months of Bryan as champ, which could still do what we're talking about achieving here. If they're picking up the bidding war of 24 story of MJF, he should win it later anyway, so there's a reasonable threat of him leaving with it. Right, that's the other thing. That part of it is kind of... that part of it worries me, I have to be honest. Not because I think he's going to leave and they'll have egg on their face, but like... It's not really the kind of story I'd be looking to tell right now. Like, I'd try and simplify and bring in house, and I don't know, gives me the shakes. Max shouldn't jump to cash in until he has every advantage in his corner. You can drag this out for months. There you go. It's interesting. Here's the thing: for those of you that think Max is not going to be the Full Gear match, what do you think the Full Gear main event is? I'm intrigued. Mortal Bane holding on to the chip. There are so many baby faces on the roster that MJF can have a great 2023 reign. Certainly. Summer of Mox is over. Don't need to see him rehash the same thing he just did for the next few months. That's why Brian just feels like he ticks all the boxes, to be honest with you. Do we think MJF does anything at Grand Slam, a match, or could he try to cash in? I was really bullish on doing him and Kingston. This was a long time ago. I had. Oh, fuck it. Who knows? I can just say this. It appeared they were going to feud together after Max worked Jericho. He was penciled to feud with King. And obviously Punk came in and Punk ended up feuding with both of them. So it changed the timeline around. And we never got that. That in New York feels like a natural, but you only have one more week of TV. So my guess is honestly he'll just be in action or something of that ilk. So we shall see. I don't disagree with this about needing heel champs. This is such a unique circumstance that I just think I'd want to give people stuff to cheer, just for a while, even if it's 2 New Year's Smash, as someone said. I'd be hesitant to go heat heavy. The pay-per-view this Sunday I thought was very heat heavy. And I thought it hurt the show, actually. It affected the vibe of the show. So does feel like MJF will be winning it at Full Gear. I would agree that's the most likely outcome. I don't mind a short reign for Brian, but I understand I'm in the minority. Of course, I'd happily see Brian have it for a year too. Yeah, look, it's important to say this isn't like a disaster if Max wins it Full Gear. I'm just trying my best to be analytical and look at the pieces at play. I can't help but feel like there shouldn't be a rush here, quite frankly. Wouldn't split the Blackpool Combat Club anytime soon. I think Garcia replaces Yuta on BCC. Definitely feels like there's a chance they switch those two. I could see them doing a switcheroo there, because Wheeler Yuta is tremendous, so I wouldn't be rushing to do it. But if they decided he's going to switch places and they could kind of give him, they could give him a different personality or something like that. I don't think that'd be a bad idea, to be totally honest. That's just me. Would love to see more Danielson Eddie, also Danielson and Hobbs. Hopefully we get some movement on the Hobbs front, because that's a big win for him on Sunday. I agree with this too. AEW needs a lot of new blood up top, with Punk out of the picture and the Elite being iffy. Danielson as a selfless world champ will go a long way to bring younger guys up a level. Look what he did for Ali and Kofi in 2018-2019. Nailed it. That is a real thing. The bracket is great. Getting Hangman and Bryan's great, but it did feel familiar. And with that roster, it doesn't have to feel familiar. With Bryan, because he can wrestle anyone, you don't have to go in a particular direction. You can bring up all of the young guys, even the guys that have got in and feel like they're kind of on the edge looking in. Even, for example, a guy like Keith Lee. Him and Bryan, could you fucking imagine that match? That'd be incredible. He's such a valuable piece in that regard. Yeah, there's some Kingston at Full Gear talk here. Kingston and Bryan. Be very compelling, certainly. MJF Mox can be the Full Gear main, but it doesn't have to be for the belt. That's pretty good. Manny has started a new bit where he fantasy books Homicide into AEW. The other day he said he would let the Elite go and sign Okada and Homicide, and he just said those 2 names together for no real reason. So, shout out to Manny. He'll be on the Late Night Grin tonight, which is called The Muffin Man. Maybe Cole. Absolutely brutal time for Christian to get hurt. Would love Danielson versus Cage. Moxley versus Christian, honestly, probably would have been very likely because those 2 guys are tight. Yeah, that's actually a big shame. You're right. Yeah, there's a lot of Kingston Bryan talk. Okay. Instead of leaving with the belt, I hope they do a 2023 as MJF's contract year angle. Could go horribly, but could also be fun. Look, it's worth noting that whatever they do, there's a good chance it's good. Because MJF's obviously very good at what he does, and if you look at his history in terms of the angles he's done in AEW, Very, very few of them are misses. You could argue none of them are misses on his part of the bargain. I may argue that point, but we'll leave it there. So, I have no doubt it'd be good. It's just, it's not like I could see it kind of being something that would frustrate me on the show, just personally. It's the same thing, by the way. Like, and I said this on Discord a lot this week. And those of you that are in those voice gimmicks, voice chat, whatever they call them, will know what I'm saying here, or recognize this and remember I said it. Like, whenever we talk big picture AEW, I can't stress enough. I say it to Shield all the time. Like, these shows are gonna be good. Like, if your sole interest in AEW as a fan of the product, and this would be very normal if this is your sole interest because you're a fan of the product, is the show going to be good on Wednesday night? I think you're pretty safe that the show is going to be good on Wednesday night. Like, they would have to lose like an army of people because the show was good before it had the best wrestling roster ever, and I think they probably have too many people anyway. So it's like all of this other stuff. I don't think changes the fact the show will be good almost every week. It was really fucking good this week, but it will almost always be good. When we talk about big picture, I can have a certain read on where they're headed, their trajectory, without being like the show's going to suck. That's important to say it now because I think I said it on the Punk show or the All Out show, but that is important, man. Like, this roster's crazy. They ain't gonna just suddenly start having shitty shows because CM Punk and the Elite have been sent home. Like, it's not how it works. So, anyway, Kingston Bryan, MJF Mox, acclaimed FTR, Hater Britt, Storm Sheeta, Full Gear, and couple guys. And there's the point, right? Like, look, Miro's there. There's a lot of great talent that's been underutilized just by default because there's so many guys. It's the way it works, My God, we're running back Cass and Bryan already. Steady on, brother. Steady on. I want to see Dragon versus Swerve. Swerve was, because this is turning such a Q&A style show. We'll just talk about this now. Swerve's segment last night was like a great example of something that we've discussed a lot on this platform, which is that when that dude turns heel fully, which I think we're basically there, but once he really gets rolling as a singles and he can kind of shape his presentation accordingly, he's a game changer for them. Like, his ceiling is the top guy in the promotion. Genuinely, I've been bullish on that for a long time. He is totally unlocked as a heel. As a babyface, he's good because he's so charismatic, but he's slightly try hard. As a heel, it ain't just being cocky. A lot of guys can do that. That's fine. But there's something terribly sinister to Swerve. There is an edge to Swerve. There is a spite to Swerve that is really unlocked when he's a heel. And I think when we get there, which again, I think we may have just stopped there, quite frankly, is a game changer. And it's what a time, because with Christian out, they're down heels. MJF just came back, but Cole's not around for now. So it's seriously, it's an opportunity here for Swerve, if indeed the tag reign is about to end, as I think we all agree it should. So there you go. Brody King, Keith Lee, Ricky Hobbs, these matches for Bryan. In my opinion, if he wins, Bryan should put over and up and come up when he drops the belt. Then MJF can take it off. It's definitely not a bad idea. I really want to see Yuta and Garcia together in the BCC and have them work out the differences and tag together. I like that angle too. I suggested that a few weeks ago, the idea that Regal basically said, you've learnt so much from wrestling each other. You've maxed out in that regard. Now this is how much you can learn from tagging together and what it takes to kind of build chemistry, And also that would add a lot to the tag division because them two as a babyface team that can also work as heels if absolutely necessary in terms of how they wrestle. Man, I mean, that's incredible TV. So, yeah, I like that idea too. Kenny Bryan is also an option for Full Gear. The Kenny thing is going to be really interesting, man. Really interesting. Realistically, how many matches can Arthur Ashe have? The title match is going at least 25, right? Yeah, so last year they had about 12 because you have double Rampage, so it's split, remember? So it's like a super card that's just split across two TVs. So I would say they'll probably sell at 12, 13 maybe there's a squash in there. It will go 25, but you can kind of, the way they did it last time was basically there was nothing in between the matches. It was just match. And obviously Rampage is taped, so you can play around with that stuff. So probably 12. A lot of multi-mans. That was the case last year. It'll be even more so this year. What's the late night Grin? It's a show that at Duke's Grin on Twitter is on tonight. Frank's hating on Homicide. Pop. I wonder if they make Cole face when he comes back. I mean, I wouldn't be. He's very over, and there's no undisputed era from team with or elite from feud at this point. So, in an ideal world, all things equal, being a babyface has been the play for Adam Cole for a long time. I've said this consistently because people cheer him, and while he's good at being like a dick heel, and he has one of those faces, people like him, and I think his in ring is probably better off that way too. The problem is, as you and I know, don't have an app. They go about 2 hills deep. So when you get Cole back, you probably need to have him on that side of the fence, even if it's not the best thing for him. You have to kind of sacrifice in that regard. I saw this, Manny. I watched the product. I know that Regal said that, but I still think there's a chance he joins the group. That's all. Manny tried to dunk on me from the chat. That piece of shit. All right, he's on the late night Grin tonight. Who's next up for Wardlow? I believe you'd predicted he'd defend the belt against Tony Nese. I must admit, I thought it would go longer, so I'm not going to take a victory lap. Maybe Hobbs at Grand Slam. I think Hobbs is going to beat him for the belt at Full Gear, simply. I don't know about what they're going to do after Ash. I could almost see them doing Hobbs, Starks, and Wardlow in a triple threat. We shall see. JR's tweet was very funny. Lurking at work, and a colleague of mine is like, why are you watching this Brit podcast? Is he covering the Queen live? How do they know I'm a Brit? Oh, they can hear? You don't have headphones and you listen to this whole shit? Good Lord. Terrible. Joe, you've gone 35 minutes with Jack Crosby without burying Jack Crosby. Let me tell you something. I ain't going to comment on the happenings of today out of politeness and respect. But Jack Crosby is feeling it. He's down. So I'm not going to bury Jack Crosby. All I'm going to say is thoughts and prayers to my guy, the old lad with no hair, who is down in the dumps, beaten up. So we're rooting for you, Jack. Hang in there, brother. Okay. Tony might say do something weird like Dragon Yuta Garcia triple threat. Yuta's reaction last night was very interesting. Very, very interesting. Brody and Brian would fucking rule, yes. It was very clever last night, the way that they cutting off Max Caster was really smart because he absolutely could not do a rap that didn't include anything about Sunday and keep his act together. People would have been so disappointed. So that was very smart, and it got heat on Swerve too. So that was good. Does JS need a new member? Now, they could have stopped adding members a long time ago, but if you're taking Garcia out, I guess it works some way. I was convinced Stokes' group was for Swerve, not MJF. Honestly, man, it might be. I saw some speculation about this. It seems some people feel like Max was just it was a business deal. He paid them and that was that, I could be completely wrong. I'm not even necessarily my take. It's just it's an interesting thought to kind of, because it does feel weird that he'd be fully into that faction to me. But I don't know. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to scroll here. There's many comments. Crosby got a Fed scoop yesterday, guys. Did you see that? Shout out to him. That piece of shit. Yeah. I think it could be interesting. I always thought Swerve getting Keith to reluctantly turn heel would be money, only for Keith to turn face on him down the road. That's an interesting dynamic, actually. You kind of do the deal with the crowd, egging, trying to encourage Keith to right his wrongs. That could be interesting. I don't think they're going to do that. But with consistent TV exposure, that could be interesting for sure. All right. Anyway, continue to comment. I'll try and catch up. But I'll talk about a few things. So Garcia and Yuta was damn good. It was not quite as good as I wanted it to be, or great necessarily. There was a lot of reasons for that. The crowd was kind of, I thought the crowd was kind of odd throughout the show. But shit happens. I'm not, it's not a crowd review, but it was kind of odd. And it was the main event to me was one of those matches where it needed a magical crowd, one of those ones that really, makes a match special. It didn't quite get that. I didn't think anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. But it was still very good. I was kind of surprised at how kind of vague it was in terms of its ideas, and like it was a little bit hollow to me, which is very unlike these two fellas. Which that's these what it is. It wasn't bad by any means. The work was really good, and by the end, it was a damn good match. But it did kind of, I was left wondering if they could do better, which we know they can, and it's hard. But the big thing I want to say is because the match still got over and was damn good. It can't be overstated how proud everyone involved should be of these two guys who a year ago wrestled a 60-minute draw in front of, a few people. There was a crowd in there. It was very hot. But, it was a great match. We watched it on one of these shows. You can go to latenightgrin.com and actually watch me watch it on the screen. Whole deal. It's great. But that, is one thing. Doing a TV main event on the most sort of bizarre week in promotion history in front of a big arena crowd, while it wasn't, 20,000, they had a nice house in there. It can't be overstated how proud everyone involved should be. They trusted these guys, and while, as a nerd, I critique their match a little bit, I can't say at all they let anyone down. I thought they did a great job. The crowd liked the match. I liked the match. It was damn good. There's things they could do better, but they're also guys in their mid-20s who are going to be wrestling each other for 20 years, and they are just so polished and so mature as wrestlers for their age. It really is remarkable. These are the kind of guys that you build, they're the kind of guys you ensure that, listen, this guy can leave, that guy can leave. This is the kind of core you want to build in terms of the way these two guys have conducted themselves, the way these guys have performed under pressure, the matches they've produced at a very young age with relative inexperience against the top guys in the promotion. Both guys have produced TV classics this year with the aforementioned Jon Moxley, with Brian. It's very special. And for all the talk of pillars, in a strange way, and I don't mean to tear anyone down, but in a strange way, these guys have kind of climbed that, they feel like they're in that conversation. Not with all the pillars, but a couple of them definitely. I'll go a step further. I think Yu is tremendous. He's still got to find his little extra ingredient, I think, as a TV wrestler and find his thing. He's a little bit of a clean slate, I think, right now, which I think, as good as he is, kind of capped this match out a little bit, I thought. Because I didn't think he fully embraced what he should have done in this match, but it's hard because, there's a lot of different moving pieces. You've been a babyface on TV, I get it. But Garcia is someone who we've all circled for a long time, but I think in recent months has really transformed. I think the Jericho Appreciation Site was an opportunity for him. And even if you watch his second match with King, or whatever match it was on Rampage, the match they cut a lot out of in the middle when he was in Jericho's group, and afterwards Eddie cut the promo on Chris. Watch that match. He still very much, I think, was having the same issues he was having before the group, which is that he hadn't quite clicked for people that are in the crowds. I mean, we think the world of him as a worker, but he hadn't quite connected in that way. And the Jericho Appreciation Society run has really changed that over time. I think Anarchy in the Arena was a huge moment for him because it gave him an edge, and it solidified what a lot of us enjoy about Daniel Garcia is that he has this kind of mean streak. A mean streak that actually, frankly, I thought was slightly absent from the match last night, but again, shit happens. Anarchy in the Arena kind of brought that to the fore. And then the big one that I keep kind of going back to in my mind when I think about where Garcia's at was the Wednesday that followed when he wrestled, Moxley in California. That was, to me, that was the performance of a main event guy. Now, whether he should be the world champion or not, obviously not yet. Long way to go. Him as the TNT champ, whatever you need to do. But there are a lot of prospects in AEW. There are very few guys, because of how good the roster is, that I'll confidently say this guy is a main eventer. Garcia is one of those guys. And it isn't a case of he will be. To me, he basically is one. I mean, he was literally one last night. I know it was certain circumstances, but he's been one for them consistently. And you put a faith in guys like this for a reason, because eventually it will pay off. And I'm sure, and God, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm sure that this evening the ratings will come out and their match probably didn't, maintain. Everyone will shit themselves, but that ain't what it's about. It's about investing, because in 5 years, folks will be watching the TV screen that have watched these two dudes grow up. that have watched them flourish and become top stars in the promotion in the wrestling world. And that's why you do the work now, because it will pay off. And I think it's already paying off. It has paid off with both guys. So big props to both dudes and those that put them in this position for the last year, because trust me, it probably hasn't been easy this week in the land of All Elite Wrestling. And they fucking stood up and they did their deal, and the match, got over live, and God bless. So big thumbs up to those two. They should be very proud of their efforts. All right. Other thing here. And by the way, this is a good point, because I was about to literally transition here. This is why I will always push back on the ratings for women's division stuff. You have to invest now to get the benefits later. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't do the work now, you'll never get them there. Garcia's matches wouldn't do good ratings, didn't get good crowd reactions, but you did the work and it's getting there. It takes time. You have to commit. If you don't commit now, you're going to get lost in this game of just trying to win next week's rating. You got to do the work. And I'm glad you're up, because I totally agree with that. Okay. Where was we? Oh, yeah. Speaking of such, Tony Storm, Penelope Ford, great to see them in the first hour again. I do not want to, sort of hoot and holler about this. We should not have to celebrate such a thing, but it is cool to see. Fair, objectively so, right? So it's a nice thing, and I like it. I think Tony, we've talked a lot about Tony Storm and her ceiling in AEW and so on and so forth. The one thing I think we've all agreed on is she has wrestled with a certain inspiration and, enthusiasm in AEW that has been really exciting to see and really encouraging to see. She appears to be really into the idea of being the woman that turns this thing in the direction it needs to go. And I don't mean that to slight any champ that came before. I don't mean to slight any, of the, because it isn't on the women. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I think Tony likes the idea that one day we'll look back on this division and say that was the reign that turned things in the right direction. I think she wants to lead from the front. I think it was clearly a point. Let's go and have a match out there. I mean, they didn't get like tons of time, but they had a real match, And in ring, I think she's up to it. I would like to see the promo she cut on YouTube, on TV, consistently, that kind of promo. She's very laid back, and that is a strength in some ways. She's super fucking cool. But one of my issues with Tony has always been, as a lot of you know, is I just would like some more energy, some more fire. Sometimes it's great to be laid back, but sometimes I need some more. Get go and go. So I think if you get some of the stuff we saw on YouTube, on TV, that will help her in terms of really getting over. But yeah, we do need more promo time. I agree with this totally. We can go match to match forever, but we need effort on the promo front. We need women get a chance to talk, and not just in like 20-second pre-tapes, like an actual promo. So there you go. Shout out to Penelope Ford too, who has always been an interesting wrestler for AEW, because she's sort of, in flashes, will really convince you she should be a big time player. And in the next match, it'll be like, well, I'm not so sure. And it's been kind of frustrating with someone who I think I'm a fan of Penelope. I like Penelope, but I think anyone who's been honest would agree that she's, she can be inconsistent. And I think a big part of that is it's hard to get a rhythm when you don't wrestle on TV consistently, right? Like, you're kind of in and out. It's difficult. What I would say is she came back, and both TV matches I thought would have been a hit. She played a very similar role in both, actually, in terms of length and the way that she took enough of the match to make herself seem like a threat. But she also, her biggest strength is the way she can take bumps in there. And that was a real benefit of both Athena on Rampage a couple weeks back and Tony on last night on Dynamite. So, she's very useful in this role. It's hard for me not to ponder what her ceiling can be if she can perform at this level consistently. Not saying she can't. I'm saying hopefully we get more of this and this output. Ideally, Penelope's back on TV in a couple of weeks again, and we don't miss her for a few months. Like, she's just come back. We got a TV match. We got another one. Let's keep going with that. Let's give her a chance to get some rhythm in 6-7 minute matches, rather than 3-minute squashes, 3-minute squashes, 3-minute squashes, and then a 10-minute match on TV and back to the 3-minute squash. So some rhythm, I think, would help her a lot. She's looking good out there, and she looks confident and comfortable. She isn't like she's missed a beat. So I'm rooting for Penelope Ford. I thought she looked good here against Tony Storm. So, what have we not talked about? Oh, the trios titles. I have to be honest with you guys. I haven't got a problem with it. I'm not here to whine about it because, it's Death Triangle. God bless. But I was kind of surprised by that. Tell me in the chat, who did you think was going to win the trios title match? I'm intrigued. I want to see what the take is on this. Because I kind of thought Best Friends were going to win. There you go. Okay, good. I'm glad to see I'm not completely losing my mind. It makes me think that there's like... Okay, so most people thought Best Friends were going to win. All right, cool. It makes me think that there's like a plan. And I say plan loosely because I'm not saying they have like a fucking, marked in the calendar. But it kind of makes me feel like Tony has like a grand idea of when these fellas should win a belt. And as much as this sucks for Chuck and Trent, because they deserve they're a great team, but it almost makes you wonder if he doesn't want Orange to win anything until he wins like a big one as a singles. I say a big one because I'm hesitant to say the big one, but I don't know. It kind of felt like they should win this match, and the fact they didn't made me kind of ponder if there's like a plan in place, namely perhaps him beating Pac for the All Atlantic title after Ash, as Duke says. It's interesting. It was the kind of result that made me wonder if there's something else ahead. But nonetheless, obviously, Death Triangle are over in their own right. It's not like while I think it would have been more feel good to have the Best Friends win, it's not like they had them lose to the Trustbusters. People love Death Triangle. They're basically a babyface act. Pac is kind of whatever the fuck he wants to be on that night, right? So, yeah. I think they'll be fine, obviously. It's just, I must admit, it did catch me off guard because it felt like an easy chance, like a kind of slam dunk, but whatever. All right, anything else, folks? Any questions? This has been fun. Try to stream on Twitch regularly. I'm just quickly to kind of, because I said this on a lot elsewhere, but I don't know if I actually said on one of the shows because so much happened. I missed time and this, that. But basically, the way we're looking at this now is we're like a Twitch channel that has a special show behind the paywall. We use the Patreon to post these shows so we can keep them and people can go back to them and do whatever you want to do if you like them. God forbid. You can revisit some shows. They're nice history pieces because Twitch will delete stuff. But we're going to try and use Twitch a lot. Speaking of such, while I wait for see if there's any questions, I see a couple of good ones. Before we get to them, this is tentative, so bear with me, folks, because this may not happen because my mood is very you go, I suppose. But my plan is to really focus in on like community vibe and kind of watch-alongs. So tomorrow night I'm going to try something that I actually once pitched to that piece of shit Montgomery that he told me was a terrible idea and would kill the territory. Tomorrow night we're going to do a Friday night Grin along. Okay, now what this means is I'm going to go on at around 7:50 Eastern. I'm going to be on for SmackDown. And then I'm going to be on for Rampage. Now, I'm very hopeful this format will work because, Rampage is a fun show, but I don't think it needs the full attention that Dynamite does. So I think it could be a great community deal on some Friday nights to just sit and watch the wrestling for 3 hours. It's like a block of wrestling. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to try that out tomorrow night, hopefully. So there you go. I thought they were winners about the Best Friends, but wish they didn't. OC winning a title has a good story attached. Make the lazy bastard try for once. I think that's the plan. Yeah. I think it'll be an extended story. Okay, let me go to starred comment gimmicks here. Action Bronson is going to wrestle at Grand Slam, it seems. Him and Hook versus 2.0. I have to be honest, that rules, but it is way less fun when shooters pitch this exact thing, but with Taz. I mean, Action Bronson, that's cool and all, but like Taz, it's tough for me to recover from that, to be honest. What's the future of House of Black and Julius Hat? I'll be honest. I think the future is. I think the future is Brody King as a singles guy, and probably with Jules as his valet. That's my guess. So we'll see. I hope Malachi is okay. Giving 3 guys titles because one of them is mega over is a weird choice for me, while all 3 of Death Triangle over. You piece of shit, you went after Chuck and Trent. You can't do that in this comment section. How dare you? But I also understand what you're saying. The Grin lineup for tonight is Young Manny, Younger Dukes, Old Matty Bullets, and myself. We're in a really hilarious run of where like everyone's doing stuff and it's kind of brutal, but please stick with us, guys. I'm sorry. It will still be fun. Dukes is not that bad. Is it likely Omega walks in February when his contract expires? I would be very surprised. Very, very, very surprised. Saying that, weirder things have happened, clearly. I do think there is like an interesting dynamic at play with Kenny and where he sees himself in the promotion. But I think by the time February gets here, AEW will be much more suited to Kenny painting his pictures, the way he wants and doing his thing in AEW. I will, like, all I'm saying, I'm not scooping here. This is no inside information, but it has been interesting the way people have talked about his free agency. That's what I would say. I personally, just one opinion, would be stunned if he left, the Bucks and Co. and went to WWE. It would very much surprise me. But we'll let it play out, I guess. I don't know. This is true. I'm absolutely, listen, folks, a lot of you handle your business, like adults, but there is no fucking way that I'm going to go on camera and be like, yeah, man, that dude shouldn't have aired his fucking dirty laundry publicly. I'm a nobody and I did that shit, right? You think I'm defending Punk? It's not so much defending Punk. I'm just deflecting from my own old shit. I have a question. Is Black gone from the premonition, my God, was released or a time off deal? It's a weird term used in reports. So Malachi's, it appears anyway, is going to be going home for a little bit. Which again, love to him. Seems like a good dude, very talented dude. So he won't be going to WWE anytime soon. It's probably one of those like big time corporate no competes where it's like a year. What I would say is, the fact that he's like got his release rather than just kind of going on hiatus is interesting because he did have like 6 years on his deal. So I think it's complex and a lot of moving pieces, but ultimately I think it's a personal thing and he needs to, figure some, he needs to give himself some time to get better and hopefully eventually he'll be ready to work wherever he wants to work. Because I don't think it's necessarily a home run he comes back. What I'll say is I just hope the dude's good. I hope he gets better. I hope things work out and I'm rooting for him. If you know Malachi's story, he's had a pretty interesting, unique life, a pretty challenging life, I would say. So I hope he's okay, sincerely. Can't wait, brother. Cannot wait for Claudio and Dax. I mean, I'm really looking forward. That's the kind of thing, man. Like when we do these grin-alongs, we can take our time, watch, have Carrying Crosses on. We can talk about whatever, but then we can lock in for a Dax Claudio deal and pop. So that'd be fun. Manny is 14. All right. Sorry, I'm scrolling here. Braun is back. Factual. That's the other reason we should watch SmackDown. I like it too, Brent. I like it too. I like the lineup. That is tonight at 9 Eastern. Remember, latenightgrin.com. Child labour talk in the chat. I'm going to leave that. I feel like the best friends have reached Miz and Morrison levels. That's unfortunate. They're always around, always punching above their weight class, working with top-level guys, when they always lose, all caps. I've grown tired of them and didn't really want them to beat Death Triangle as a result. You're very spiteful, don't have an hat. No wonder you don't have an hat. Very spiteful. All right. Yeah, I think Rampage this week. Listen, Sam Joe promo and fucking Dax and Claudio. It's good stuff. The Sam Joe thing, I'm told, sets up something very funny. So you'll get to pop because a lot of you won't know where that's because I've been sent a few things about that. I don't actually have any spoilers for Rampage, but I got some. I don't have other spoilers. I have some Joe stuff, which will be funny. Don't get too excited. All right. Appreciate you guys. Is there anyone to raid, guys? Is there anyone to raid before I go out here? Anyone to raid on the Twitch? If so, we'll do so before we depart. Sounds some interesting. The Chugs? Adam Cole Bay? No way. The Chugs. He's 400 people, man. He's a big star. Oh, fuck it. Good for him. All right. We'll send you to the Bay, folks on Twitch. I appreciate you all. See you tonight at 9 Eastern. LateNightGrin.com. It's going to be a hell of a time. Manny, myself, Dukes, old Matty Bullets. Got a lot to talk about, obviously. Hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy the Bay. Okay, folks on YouTube, you can watch that very show, LateNightGrin.com. $1 gets you in. That's all you need to see. That show every single week. And also get an audio file for shows like this so you can listen to them in your car, when you're going on a stroll, wherever else you go. Yeah? Maybe you just don't want to look at me. I don't know. Anyway, enjoy this outro. All hell.